to the show. I am David Swift, your host of all things real estate. I am a licensed Georgia realtor and a licensed Alabama realtor. And on today's show, we are going to speak with another lender, and he's going to tell us about himself and what his company can do for you home buyers out there. His name is Paul Bain, and he works with Supreme Lending. So let me get him on here.
How you doing, David? How you doing?
How are you doing, brother?
I'm doing really good.
I'm glad that you took time out of your day to be with us today. Our platform here is we're just trying to inform the public about us and our industry and what we can do for them. So I'm so glad that you took time out of your busy day today to talk to us. But before we get into the whole lending thing, if you'll pay attention to the bottom, I've got you some cues here. We're going to talk about Paul for a minute.
Yeah.
So we got to let everybody know who you are, brother. So who is Paul Bain?
Well, first and foremost, I'm a man of God and who's just been blessed with tons of miracles that has gotten me to this point I am in life. I played football. That was my first love of the game. I spent my whole life playing the game. I've been blessed enough to play on all three levels, from high school, college, and the professional in the NFL for a little bit.
Wow.
So I've been a blessed man. It was a hard journey, but God blessed me with persistence and energy to accomplish my goals and my dreams.
Awesome. Okay, so are you a family man?
I am. I have a wife and a son, and the blessings just keep coming on. just keep coming on. So
right. So is it a young son, a baby, or what?
2-year-old. He just turned 2.
Oh yeah, you're in that fun.
You have a weird sense of fun.
Yeah, I've got 3 daughters, so I've actually 22, 18, and 8. So I've been through it 3 times. So
well, can I just be honest with me? Does it get better?
Absolutely. Absolutely. When they can start fending for themselves, it's awesome. But I'm telling you, it goes by fast. Hang on to those moments that you have now. It goes by so fast. My 8-year-old, she's very, very independent. She'll cook her own food pretty much, limited. Takes care of herself, but it's like, man, slow down.
Yeah.
But yeah, so any hobbies or anything like that you get into?
Yeah. Working out is my number one hobby. Even though I'm not playing anymore, I still take my fitness very, very heavily. And you've met me in person. I'm not a small guy. So I like to stay active where I can. Another hobby for myself is I'm huge movie fanatic. Love movies. I'm the type of person who can sit in the living room all day on a Saturday and watch all 3 Lord of the Rings back to back to back. Like that's I'm my type of person. So I'm big into movies, all genres.
I'm fixing to ask you what kind, but it's pretty much if it's a good movie, you're going to watch it.
Absolutely. Like the hardest question you could ask me today is, Paul, what's your favorite movie? Because I'll give you about 20 different answers.
Right. It depends on what day of the week.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Awesome. All right. So we know that you, I know that you work with Supreme Lending. So let's talk about them for a minute. Who is Supreme Lending?
Yeah, Supreme Lending is a mortgage company. I met them honestly right after I got done playing for the Arizona Cardinals. So, and when I got done and when I got my mortgage license, I had a couple different companies I had to choose from. And what really sold me on what Supreme is was meeting Pat Flood, our CEO, and meeting Cale Orge, honestly. And Cale comes from a sports background like myself, so we connected on that front. But it also gave me the same feel and the same passionate drive that I got from playing athletics and sports around the people I'm working with today. It was never a situation of what can I do for myself, but in a situation of what can I do for you. And when you play football, the ultimate team sport, you start to think less of yourself. You start to think more of others because there are people that's counting on you. And when I entered this company, and in anywhere in the real estate industry, it could turn very selfish very fast.
Right.
So when I met this company that was more about us than me, then that's something that really sold me on kind of where we're at and the driving factor and servicing others and helping others and doing whatever we can to uplift each other rather than do whatever we can to get ahead of each other. So,
and that right there actually answers this next question I had. Why did you choose to work for Supreme Lending? And you pretty much just answered that. So that's awesome. Great minds. And you were talking about some of your affiliates. You've met Ty Anderson, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Say, I'll talk about myself for just a minute, but like I'm a huge, we're called Gomers, but a huge Third Day fan. Like, and I'm Chris, grew up, following Third Day forever. And then when I became a realtor, and then he came to the office, and I got to meet him. It was like wow, But he actually autographed my bass guitar for me.
Wow.
Because I play bass as well, so we got to talk about that. But it was cool how you were in the NFL, and then the other guy was in he played professional baseball.
Yeah,
Paul, I'm not Paul.
Kale.
And then Ty Anderson was huge rock star, and all of y'all are with Supreme. So
it's pretty cool. But anybody who's reached the top of the mountain and has kind of had that pinnacle of success, been blessed enough to reach that pinnacle of success of accomplishing a dream, understand one big thing, and that's no matter how much you think you are to get to that point, you didn't do as nearly as much as you think you did.
That's right.
It takes a strong unit. It takes family. It takes God. It takes God surrounding you around the right people. It takes blessing on top of blessing on top of blessing. And honestly, when I met my CEO, Pat Flood, he spoke a lot about the things that I'm talking about right now, how he doesn't take any credit for getting to him where he needs to. He gives all the credit to where it needs to be, which is God for blessing the right people in his life to help project him and promote him forward. And also he thanks God for blessing him in the right situation to take advantage of for his strengths. So it's no surprise that we're attractors talents of, I call us outliers, people who the world will try to tell you, take as much success as you can. Thank yourself. Thank nobody else. You did it all on your own. But it's no surprise that me, Kale, and Ty, we understand we're the outliers. We understand that we maybe did 0.5% to get where we needed to. We just made the most and trusted God in our plan. So it's make no surprise we're under one roof.
Absolutely. And that might tie into this next question I'm going to put up here for you. But even still, dive a little deeper and explain this a little for you yourself. Not just with Supreme, not just, why do you do what you do in all aspects of mortgage lending? Why do you do it?
And honestly, I do it for the people. I think when I was blessed enough to accomplish my goal and to do something that everybody said I wouldn't be able to do, and I got to feel that experience of walking on the NFL field for the Cardinals for the first time and seeing Larry Fitzgerald and those guys that I grew up watching, and it came to reality. It was like, oh my gosh, what a feeling to accomplish the one dream people said I would never do. Right. So I kind of took that passion and I added it to my philosophy, which my philosophy is I don't believe God gave us miracles for ourselves. I think he gave us miracles for people around us to witness his miracle. And I wanted to use that miracle and kind of allow that message and allow that experience that I've experienced to share that to a lot of people. Home buying is that dream. That is their NFL.
Absolutely.
And for a lot of people I've encountered, they're the first people to ever own a home within their generation. So I know they've seen plenty of no's or a lot of people who said they couldn't do it. So I find a lot of pride, and I take a lot of pride, and I take a lot of motivation in the fact of giving that dream, giving them that feeling to them, being able to be God's vessel and interact and impact so many lives. That's really the why I do it. That's my energy right there.
Right. I love it. And, like you was talking about first-time home buyers, me being a realtor, there's something that just different, and that when that like you said, they've never owned a house. Nobody in their families ever was a homeowner. And for us, me being a realtor, you on the lender side, to be, parts of that journey that gets them to be, that first person in their family to own a home. There's just a special kind of joy that
Mhm.
comes from that. And I love that you get excited. I don't ever get tired of that. Every time it's,
Yeah.
you're a first time home buyer, awesome.
Yeah.
I try to help them all equally, but
Mhm.
it's just something about a first time home buyer. There's a little bit more excitement knowing that you're going to be a vital resource for them to obtain home
I
ownership.
agree.
That's awesome. So let's get into it. Let's start here's a question for you. Let me get it up here. So we're talking about lending. We just talked about home buyers just a little bit. So what should a client consider before they start their home buying journey? And that's what I like to call it, a journey. I don't like to call it a process, but it's a journey.
It is.
Because they're the hero of this, of our story. So there's a journey. So when they start this journey, what from the lender's perspective, what should they consider before they start?
Yeah. The first thing they consider is their finances, looking at their personal finances, because that allows them, having that knowledge allows them to kind of take the reins of the process. I usually tell them, a lot of my clients, to, hey, before we get deep into this, how about you look at your monthly finances? Look at what you're paying for your car, your house. I mean, not your house, your car, your student loans, if you're making payments on them, your credit cards and things like that. Your basis of living. How many expenses of living do you have? And then really have a real conversation with yourself to kind of dictate how much you can take on when you have a house payment to make, and allow that to be the dictator or the gauge indicator of kind of where you're at and kind of what you're looking for. I see it all the time where a client would come in and they would want to see how much they're approved for. And you can approve them up to $500,000, and I approve them up to $500,000, but they may not want to make those monthly payments for a $500,000 home. So, and it's just things they don't think about, because it's very exciting. This journey is very exciting for people, because you're showing them houses, they're looking at houses, they're like, I want this, I want that. It's a lot of House Hunter, like they watch House Hunter, so
Yeah.
so everybody's excited about the process, and it should be. It's life-changing, and it's a very motivating moment. But at the same time, I want them to kind of set that parameter up front of, hey, this is the payment I can make while maintaining my debts, but also being able to feed myself and have fun. One of the things I tell a lot of my clients is, if you what's the point of buying a home when you'll be working more than you're sleeping in it? So be able to look at your financial situation, kind of find a monthly mortgage payment that fits for you, that you can handle, that's going to give you a good quality of life. And then from there, move forward and stay true to that. Talk to your lender. See what options you have. Let that be the basis of figuring out what options can best assist you.
So how many clients actually come to you before they speak to somebody like myself? Before they speak to a realtor, do most of the time realtors send them to you, or do they call you first to find out and then they go and find a realtor?
About 99% of the time they speak to a realtor first. 99% of the time they speak to a realtor first, and they ask them, hey, what do I do? Because
they ask the right questions. So
exactly.
by the time they speak to you, they actually already have some expectation of where they lie, how much they'd be able to afford. Because I call it writing it in crayon.
Mm-hmm.
And I simplify, I ask them all the pretty much lender questions without going out of my lane, just to kind of see where they are financially. Because I'm like you, they might be able to afford a house, but I don't want them to not have any money left over, like spend, they paid all their utilities and their mortgage, and now they're broke.
Exactly.
We need some money to have fun on too.
Yeah, exactly. But you're spot on. Most time they're speaking to the realtor, and because you guys are, look, I say you guys are the the fun friends and we're the strict parents because they don't want to speak, they don't want to talk to us. And they have so much
You're the one that limits their spending.
Exactly. So
no, go ahead.
I'm saying it's good that you had that conversation with them because listen, you're a true professional in this field, you're in a rarity because not a lot of lenders, like I'd go as far as say 80% of lenders don't take the steps to ensure that their clients have not just a smooth process, but also a process that they're comfortable with that you take. So that's huge. And I don't think people really will understand how huge that is because anybody who's worked with you, I'm sure have had nothing but a good experience. So hopefully that's all they know.
I strive on that because good experiences means referrals.
Exactly.
Exactly. That's what we want. And this leads up to this next question for both of us, but we're talking to you. So did I click on it? Hang on. So who should clients trust during their home buying process or their home buying journey? It might be a trick question, Paul. Who should they trust?
There's only two answers. This is a good question. It's funny how there's two answers to this question, but if you talk to most buyers, they have about 17 because
oh yeah.
Like the reality is me and you are professionals. This is our job. So it makes sense for us to be on top of all the information that we're giving you and making sure that they're accurate. So a realtor and a lender are the two people you should be trusting in the home buying process. It's going to hurt some feelings, but sometimes mama don't know best when she bought a house in 1986 or 90s. Grandmother don't know best when she bought a house in 1970 or grandpa or whatever. The real estate market is ever changing.
Your co-workers.
Exactly. Real estate marketing is ever changing. I think we originally saw that from just the changes of last year to this year. It's changing. So what the advice that somebody who bought 20 years ago gives you probably is not solid advice anymore.
No.
So
the media is another one.
Yeah, exactly. So
you can't just read the headline; you got to read the body.
Exactly. So it put your trust in people whose job it is to monitor what's going on. You look at it's funny because clients will sometimes tell me how to do our job, and I tell a client like, okay, how long do you look at that? And they say I spend about 30 to 40 minutes this morning right before work. I said, well, you studied this for 30 to 40 minutes. You're talking to somebody who studies this for 8 to 10 hours a day. And you're trying to tell me more than you're trying to tell me more that you know more than what I know. So you're telling me your 30 minutes of studying before you go to work in a completely different field is worth more than my 8 hours and 10 hours a day of studying this material, which feeds my family, by the way. So, so trust the people who spend the time.
Yeah, and you do this, like you said, for a living. It's how you earn your money. So when you practice something, when you're constantly doing something, you're constantly getting better at it. So you're continually getting better, and you've already got all your other experience behind you, but you're continuing to grow in your experience and education. So to question you is really, they shouldn't do that.
Exactly. And I mean, David, it's this simple. If you were, say you got stabbed, you're just bleeding out of your heart. Are you gonna go? Are you gonna Google WebMD? You can go to the emergency room and see a doctor.
What should I do?
Yeah, exactly. Same thing. You go to a doctor because he's a professional. You're hoping he's been doing this all day long for a couple of years.
Right.
So same concept. If somebody press charges on you, are you gonna Google what do I do when people press charges on me? Or are you gonna talk to a lawyer? Talk to a lawyer.
But call my lawyer. That's right.
Trust the professionals. Look, the internet can only tell you so much. Just like WebMD and any legal website can only tell you so much. But talk to somebody who really knows your case and knows who you are, knows your finances and your situation. So that's my thing on that.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's go here now. And this is I had to go back and edit this. I wanted to say, generally speaking, what does a lender do? And why do home buyers need one? So it's a two-part question.
Yeah. And I think I'm going to answer it just by a scenario. Like,
Okay.
unless the average human being has, the average man or working woman has about $300,000 in their pocket to buy a home, then more than likely you'll need a lender. So that's why you need a lender, unless
Right.
you just have a rich uncle or a rich auntie or something, and you have a couple $1,000,000 to blow on $300,000 for a house. So more than likely, most people don't have that money. So you speak to a lender to get finance for that home, and
A trusted professional lender.
exactly, a trust professional. And it's the simplest. It's simple. It's a complicated process, but the actual process is simple. You speak to us. You kind of show us. We talk to you, David. David, you go under contract. You send us the contract. We get the house appraised. We buy that house for you, and then you pay us back in your monthly mortgage payments. So that is just in the layman's term how financing works.
Right.
That's why it's important to have a trusted lender, because you want to make sure that the payments you're making actually are helping you own that house one day, and not just making payments to make payments.
You're going to find out which loan works best, because every scenario is different. Every client's different. So you're going to make sure, whether they, if they can get a VA, then you're going to try to do that. Or if you're going to do a USDA loan, conventional or FHA, a lender, you're going to make sure, like you said, finding out what kind of payment will benefit them, where they're actually paying more, to actually own the house. You're not just going to throw the first loan at it. A lender's going to structure a loan specific for each client.
100%. Well, let me add a caveat. A good lender will do that. A good lender would do that. Some lenders, just like real estate, just how there's bad realtors and there's bad lenders, just like there's bad doctors and bad lawyers. There's bad of everything. A bad lender is just going to throw you a loan that sticks because it's easier things. Whatever's easiest for them to get them paid, that's the loan you're in. It's not really working on your behalf, but it's really working on their behalf. So a good lender.
That's not Supreme, though, is it?
That's not Supreme.
Going to work with them.
Exactly. A good lender is going to go through your options with you, make sure that you know all of your options going forward, and kind of give you the best advice for you, not for them.
Awesome. So because we're talking about Supreme, we talked a little bit beforehand. You let me know some pretty cool little programs and services that Supreme offers. So I want to try to get into that now. I hope you're prepped to answer some of these questions. Let's talk about what Supreme offers. So kind of give me a highlight of some of the programs that Supreme, you can just kind of bullet point them off, and then we're going to dive into some of them.
Yeah, for sure. So we offer all the standard loan products, which is USDA, VA, FHA, and conventional. We offer loan products such as down payment assistance, which is, we have two of them one's called Supreme Dream. The other one is called Chinoa Loan. And the way that works, we waive the down payment, and you all you do is come to the table with closing costs. And sometimes you can get that gifted from the seller. So I've heard stories of people going to the closing table with like $100. So there's a lot of options that we have. What we try to do is when the market shifts, we kind of shift with the market. So as we know right now, rates are higher than they once were, and people's monthly payment are beginning to worry some people. So what my company did is we built out options to kind of help that. So one of the options that we have is a 3-2-1 or the 2-1 buy down, which it's allowing sellers to give help to help buy down the rate temporarily. So for instance, if we have let's say you close at a 6.625 rate, but say the seller gives you money for a 2-1 buy down, though your rate would be 6.625, but you really close at a 4.625. And for year one, you're making payments for a 4.625. And then year two, you make payments for a 5.625. And year three, it elevates back to that 6.625. So the philosophy behind that is to ensure that you always are paying the lowest rate of the market, because we believe once rates get better, that you should be able to refinance. So we offer
absolutely
free lender refinances. Anybody who closes within that program. So that's why it's huge. If you close it at 4.625 and the rates go to 4, you can refinance that into a fixed loan. And the best part about it is all the money that your seller credit that the seller is gifted to you actually works towards the principal of the mortgage. So it's a win-win in that situation. And it ensures you have always have the lowest payment of the market, but it also ensures that the money is going to help you either way, whether you refinance or not.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And another option we have is the lock, shop, and drop. The lock, shop, and drop.
Let's wait on that one. I want to get that. That's what we're going to talk about at the end.
Gotcha.
So you did mention the Supreme Dream. Let's get into that one a little bit.
Yeah. So Supreme Dream is a company financed down payment assistance program. It's set up like it's an FHA program. So what it does is we would cover the 3.5% down payment requirement for the FHA and allow you to come to the table with just closing costs. Now, the interesting about Supreme Dream is there's two of them, the Supreme Dream and the Supreme Dream 5. When you do Supreme Dream 5, we offer 5% in down payment assistance. Now, remember, it's an FHA loan. So the minimum requirement is 3.5%. So actually, the remaining 1.5% actually assists with closing cost. So the Supreme Dream is a very good product. It allows you to do a lot. It allows you. It's built for people who may not have the money up front, as much money up front to close on the home, but they have a nice job or a nice income to maintain the monthly mortgage payment. So that's always an option for you. So,
because you said income, I was going to ask you. So, what are the income requirements? There's got to be, they can't make X amount of dollars, or where do they fit?
Believe it or not, there's no income requirements. The only requirements are a credit score requirement. As long as you have a 620 credit score and the DTI falls in the space of FHA loan, which is 50 or 55, depending on the credit score, then you're cooking with gas.
So it's 620 or higher. So if somebody had a 719, they can still use this program.
They can still use this program.
That is awesome. The Supreme Dream. Awesome. So let me see. I got we talked about that one. So let's get into this right here. We'll go to your lock, shop, and drop. So that just got a cool name. That's got a cool name to it. So it's catchy.
It's like MC Hammer made it or something.
Tell me and the viewers about this.
Yeah, it's not a Vanilla Ice and MC Hammer song. I promise you.
Oh, okay.
But Lock, Shop, and Drop is a really, really, really cool program. Most lenders just have a rate lock, which it allows you to lock a rate. Typically, when you lock, so let's go over how you lock a rate. So typically, before when you lock the rate, you lock the rate to the property address. The rate is attached to that address. So I couldn't lock a rate until we went under contract. Now, with the Lock, Shop, and Drop option, we honestly don't need an address. So it allows us to establish a rate lock and be able to use that rate lock for the remainder of the loan. Now, here's where the kicker gets better is the drop part. So while you're out looking for the loan and your rate is locked at a rate that you enjoy, as you like, if the rates get better, we have the option to drop it and accept the new rate. So if I locked you in at a 7.125 and rates ended up being right before closing of 5.125, we can change it. We can relock the rate. You're not sold on that rate. Where some other companies would just have a lock, they won't allow you to drop it or relock the rate without a penalty occurring. So that's a really cool.
This happen like the day of closing, even
the day. I don't know if the day of closing. Actually,
maybe the day before.
Day before. For my anxiety, I'd want the day before.
It makes it rough on all of us.
Yeah, and honestly, we would need to happen honestly within the 8 days of closing, because if there was a rate change, we need to redisclose everything and kind of get all that done. So as long as it's changed before the disclosure period, we can do it. If it changed before closing, we still could do it. We just have to redisclose it and wait 8 more days to close. So that's the only thing.
So is this a limited time only plan, or is this something that y'all offer?
Honestly, so typically the lock is like it's for 30, 60, or 90 days. So as long as you find a house within the 30, 60, or 90 days of the rate lock within the drop, then you should be fine. Now, in terms of kind of the timeline of when that 90 days needs to be before, we've set it at March 31st this year, but I will say this looks like it's going to stick around for a long time and maybe a permanent time, because if you remember when we first introduced it at the team meeting, we said it would be January 1st. And then
Right.
we'd say February 31st. And then now here we are. So
that's what I was looking here in my notes, and it said March 31st. I'm like, we're promoting this, but we only got a month left to use it. So
yeah, so more than likely it'll be pushed back even more. I think it's going to be a permanent option for us right now. So that's where we're at. We're going to keep pushing that carrot back, until.
Absolutely. Now, how many? I mean, because Supreme's huge, so there's a lot of different loan officers. But you yourself personally, how many have you used this lock, shop, and drop?
I have actually. I've used 2 lock, shops, and drops. I've closed 2 of them, and I was able to close one on an investment, and I was also able to close one on a personal. So it was very cool to see the lock, shop, and drop happen, because when I get it's that cool phone call. When I get that phone call, it's like, hey, before we disclose, I just want you to know rates have gotten better. Do you want to drop? And more than likely, they're like, yeah, let's drop. So and it was like exactly. And the cool thing about that is it happened on like a weird day. Sometimes rates are unexpected. So it was like on a Friday afternoon, rates had gotten better. So so this is what having a good lender who enjoys their work, it pays off. Like Friday afternoon, I'm picking up my son from daycare. I get a little message on my phone that rates have been released and rates have improved. I check the rates out; they've gotten better. First person I'm calling is my clients that are going under contract. So let them know that option, so we can relock and stuff like that. So I've used it. It's very cool. It's very nice, especially for those days that rates are just out of nowhere, just are better, and it allows them to take advantage of it.
So I wasn't going to get into this, but and we'll just touch on it then back away, because I don't want to pin you in a corner. Mm-hmm. So you said interest rates. So what does Paul think about the interest rates forecasting the rest of this year? Where do you think they're going to end up?
Good question. So I feel like interest rates right now, it's like we were in a space of like a desert field. We were like, oh my gosh, there's just no water. There's no help around us. Now we're kind of in a space of, okay, they're here. We're looking at them. Let's figure out what's going on. I expect rates to get better because the job market is becoming stronger. The inflation is beginning to decline finally, which was the primary motivating factor of the Fed's taking action, was the lower inflation. So it's showing that the plan is working. So that tells me the plan's working. So they're going to continue it for a little while, but then eventually start taking the foot off the brake pedal for a little bit. And as I said, as they slowly, gradually take that foot off the brake pedal, we're starting to see the market normalize, start to see rates kind of adjust back to the normal rate. The reality, David, is what we experienced for the last 2 years is 1,000-year miracles, because rates.
Oh yeah, that's not going to happen.
Exactly, rates being at 2s, 3s, sometimes even 1s. Unbelievable. Does it will never happen? Statisticians can never figure out. Economists never could figure it out. How did this happen? Right. So the reality is, us going back to that time period, very highly unlikely. It is the reality that we live in. But us stabilizing at a nice 4 or 5%. That's looking like more of our wheelhouse, because it's natural. It's natural. So I think
I was going to say that's actually, we're actually, the public is actually thinking, that it was a gift, the 2 and 3% interest rate. They that's the new norm. It's supposed to be like that. So they keep trying to look back and go, well, I'm going to wait no, we're actually, that was an anomaly.
Yeah.
We're actually heading back toward more normal
David,
market. A lot of people are not realizing that, but we're in the shift. but we're getting back to where we should.
Where we should be. I mean, David, let's like everything in life. I say that everything in life, nothing's all good, nothing's all bad, because the only thing all good was Jesus Christ. So I say, let's talk about those when low rates are low. People only talk about when rates were low, but nobody really wants to remember just how hard that market was for a first-time home buyer or any buyer. Because when rates were low, it wasn't like somebody said, hey, first-time home buyers, these are the rates. No, the world saw the rates. So that means we saw a lot of investment companies buying up a lot of property and buying up a lot of things, which wasn't a lot of times. It was cutting out first-time home buyers from their opportunity. We saw a lot of people downsizing and getting smaller homes, stuff like that, getting multiple homes, hopping into investment opportunities. So again, that window of first-time home buyers was again shrinking. But we also saw sellers. It's funny how the rates were benefiting the buyers, but it became a seller's market because sellers were now understanding how much more they can get for their house based on the approval amount of what people were at that time. So really, the rates were just numbers on paper because honestly, it was evening themselves out. If you could afford $3,000 a month, then the rate was 3%. But guess what? You spent $500,000 on a $400,000 house. Your payment is still $3,000 a month. So
that's what I was going to say too. It's like people they don't see that part. They're like, oh, it's a 2.75 interest rate, but yeah, like you just said, the house is $100,000 more.
Exactly.
So it balances out. You're still paying about the same. Like me, I actually sold my house, my first house, raised my family in 25 years. We sold it in December of 21, and yeah, I got a good price for it.
Yeah,
but I turned right around and bought a new, bigger house. But guess what? And I got a good interest rate. But the house was, it was a lot more than what a traditional market was. So yeah, I got a healthy mortgage payment.
Exactly. So, and the reality is, this market, if it's a good time for you to move, if it's a good time to make a move, and you're comfortable with your finances, it's a perfect time to buy. Because right now, if you're a first-time home buyer who's been sitting on the sidelines for the last 2 years because you could not win a bid, this is your opportunity. Not only is your opportunity, but sellers are now, they're helping. They're willing to negotiate and talk to you and figure out what you need to do in order to make the transaction happen. So don't let the rate dictate you missing out on a good opportunity. Because, David, guess what? People who are saying, I'll wait till the market gets better. Well, guess what? If you know when the market gets better, then you'd be in the White House right now advising the chief of economy.
We know we get like daily updates on the market. Me and you and those that are professional in the industry. And that's we are basing what we know off of that, but it changes. So I mean, we're making, I don't like saying guesses, but everything that we say is educated.
Very educated.
The public, like you said, they're waiting based on CNN or NBC or whoever what they tell them. But like you said a minute ago, what I like to tell my buyers is, if you can afford to buy a home, then right now is the perfect time. It doesn't matter about the interest rate. It doesn't matter about nothing else. If you can afford to buy a home, let's buy one.
Exactly. Because I mean, if the monthly payment's where you want it to be, then what is the interest rate other than extra ink on the paper?
Yep. And again, you can refinance later.
100%. So you get the house. So
even if it's 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. So let's talk about the scenario. You buy a house now and you refinance in the future. So you buy the house at a price that you're comfortable with, at a monthly mortgage you're comfortable with. You got seller help so your closing cost is cheaper, and you can refinance into a lower payment than what you're comfortable with. So you got the same thing somebody got 2 and 3 years ago, except with more favorable terms.
Yep.
It's a good time to buy. It's a good time.
All of us, we hear, date the rate, marry the house. You're not going to keep that rate, but you're going to keep that house. Don't miss out on getting the house that you want because you're scared of the rate, because we can always
100%.
refinance.
Because, David, guess what? When rates get better, guess who's hopping right back in? Those same investors. Yep. So if you're a first-time home buyer, PSA, it's a good time to buy.
It's a good time to buy.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I have one more that I don't hit on it just yet, but do you have any other programs that we didn't talk about that Supreme does that we can highlight for a minute?
No, that's all we're covering. And stay in contact. Stay in contact with David because, as you see, we're constantly dropping new products and stuff like that. And we introduced it to you first, David. So, and your team and Keller Williams, stuff like that. So, be in contact with your realtor to figure out, hey, did Supreme come up with any options? Is there any options that could help me in my situation? Because, like the market changes, we must also change.
Yep. So I say this. I think this is actually the best for last. I said the lock, shop, and drop, but this one right here, Credit Essentials. Now, this can go all the way back to the beginning, talking about when they're starting their home buying journey. Mm-hmm. So some people really may not know where their credit is, or they think they know, and then elaborate on this and where people can access this.
100%. So, Credit Essentials. I can send you the link. David can send you the link for you want you to sign in, stuff like that. It is a class taught by the wonderful Lisa Myers. She works directly with the credit bureaus, Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. She was there for a long, long time and became an expert of the field and an expert of her craft. So Credit Essentials is huge because I have yet to have somebody go to Credit Essentials class, go to this class and not walk away with their mind just completely blown. Lisa goes over everything from the history of credit, the importance of credit, everything, and she leaves you with little subtle changes you can make to your everyday life that's going to have exponential boosts in your credit scores. I mean exponential from the standpoint of 50 to 70 points, which is huge. Because let's talk about why credit is so important in the mortgage process. A lot of people think it's just only plays a factor into the eligibility, which is the provability and stuff like that. Not just that. Credit score can determine how much money you can lend on. An FHA credit score is a good example. If you're below 640, we can only go to 50 debt to income ratio. If you're above 640, we can go to 55 debt to income ratio. And the difference of that is sometimes $20,000 to $50,000 in extra buying power that you have. Another thing that it factors in, the cost of rates and rates themselves.
Yep.
If you have a credit score that is a 680 or above or a 700 above in conventional, you're probably going to get prime rate pricing and prime rates of that day, of that market. If you're below that 680 threshold for conventional or you're below that 640 threshold for FHA, your rates are going to be a little bit pricier. So now you're talking about a more expensive loan because closing costs is going to be higher because the rates are higher and the rates are more expensive to buy. So credit is a huge pillar in the home buying process. That's why my company has invested so much money into education about credit. Definitely, I encourage everyone to go on Credit Essentials, even if you have good credit, because guess what? Like David said when we hopped on, everybody, I think it's funny because I think everybody thinks they know their credit or everybody thinks they know it's on their credit report until I pull it. Because a lot of times, David, some people don't even realize they have collections accounts until I take a look at it. So definitely tune in to Credit Essentials. If you need any assistance at all, please contact David, contact myself. We will get you that link and educate yourself, blow your own mind, and start making steps that's going to position you not just for a buyer in a home, but a prime buyer in a home. So that's I can go on credit all
this information is and this information is free.
100% free. Don't even have to do an application. Don't got to do anything. We offer this every Friday at 1:00. All you need to do is contact us for the link and tune in. So this is information that you can use, your friends can use, your family can use. We want everybody to have good credit because good credit helps the market. That's the reality. Good credit helps the market because it helps rates. It actually helps rates go lower based on what investors feel like and stuff like that. So definitely everybody tune in.
And here's another thing, just touching back on what you just said. A lot, in my experience, there's a lot of home buyers or potential home buyers that never take that step. They dream to be a home owner, but they're scared of their credit. They're like, they where do I begin? Oh, I've got this collection, something, medical bills, this, whatever. So they never, they make good money, but they never take that step. They're in fear. But utilizing this, they can learn on what steps they can take. They might not be able to buy a house 3 months, 6 months, but if they use this information and education and take the necessary steps, a year or so, they can buy a home.
100%. And be happy with the payments they're making.
Right. Yeah. Don't let the fear of your credit keep you from that American dream. And I mean, that's, American dream. We all want to be homeowners. That's, everybody wants a great job or, early retirement, but everybody wants to just own a home. That's the American dream. So, and people like you, people like me, I thrive. That's the word I like to use. I thrive to help people become homeowners.
Exactly.
Listing homes is fun too, but there's just something different about helping people be homeowners.
Exactly. And that's why we're partners, because our whys are connected, brother.
Awesome. I want to put this up right here. Hopefully you don't mind. This is
not at all
to your website. That's your website, correct?
Okay, correct.
Yep. So they can go on his website and gain a little bit more information about you and Supreme. Is that correct?
Correct. They can fill out an application if they want. My phone number, my email's on there. Ways to contact me. Reach out to me. If you have any questions at all, feel free. I'm available all the time. I don't close at 5. I close when the job's done. So please reach out.
Awesome. That's what I like to hear. No 9 to 5.
Exactly.
Well, brother, I appreciate you coming on with me today and just sharing a little bit. I mean, I know me and you both could sit here and talk a lot more about all things real estate, which is the name
and
of the
life.
show.
Yeah.
And life, absolutely. And God.
Yes.
I love talking about God too. So, but yeah, brother, thanks for coming on. And I look forward to in the future, I may call upon you again outside of doing business, but to call you in and let's talk about something else on the show.
Absolutely. I'd love to.
All right. Well, brother, I appreciate it. And you have a good one. Okay.
You too. Thank you.
Yes, sir. All right. That was Paul Bain with Supreme Lending. And I hope you enjoyed everything that he brought to the table for us today. Please be sure that if you're watching this on Facebook to like and share. We want to make sure this content gets out to as many people as possible so it will help them. And also, if you're watching this through the live stream on YouTube, please be sure to like and subscribe. Until next time, folks,